You're listening to the Jefferson Exchange. Thanks for joining us. The JX starts today with the debrief, where JPR reporters discuss the stories they've been covering this week, including new rapids on a free-flowing Klamath River, an international football game, an update on a lawsuit over Head Start, and why so many school districts are facing budget problems. I'm Maria Carter, JPR's news director.
I'm Jane Vaughn, housing, homelessness, and education reporter.
I'm Justin Higginbottom, public health and safety reporter.
And I'm Emma J. Nelson, JPR's intern for the summer.
And our occasional sports correspondent, Roman Battaglia, is out today. But here's a conversation we recorded with him yesterday about a unique football game in Ashland. Roman, you worked on a story this week about an interesting football game between high school students here in Southern Oregon and students from Japan. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, so it's called the Pacific Rim Bowl. It's this football game / cultural immersion program between Southern Oregon and the Kansai region of Japan, which includes Osaka and Kyoto, some pretty big cities there. So it happens every 2 years, and then they switch between coming here and going to Japan. So this year, the Japanese team is coming here to play a game. They're this all-star team of Japanese football players from this region. For those who don't know, football is actually pretty popular in Japan. It
Really?
gained popularity in the 1930s before World War II, and then World War II happened, and, Americans weren't there to play football anymore, but then it kind of gained popularity again.
Yeah.
After the
So
war.
Japan has football, baseball, all the American sports?
They got all the stuff, and they're pretty good at it. I think football is pretty, it's uniquely tuned to, Japanese ideals and stuff of teamwork and dedication and stuff like that. So they seem to do pretty well with football. So this Japanese team arrived on Sunday, and then they're going to practice with the Oregon students. They're going to play some fun games. They've also done some cultural activities like this peace ceremony that happened on Tuesday, and then they're going to play a game tonight on Friday at the Ashland High School.
Well, when did this all start?
So it kind of started by accident, sort of. I mean, we'll get into it, but in 1986, this team from Kansai Gakuin University came to Ashland to play a game against Southern Oregon University, and then Akira Furukawa, who is the chairman of the American Football Association's Western Conference in Japan, he was at that game. He sort of had this vision / dream of bringing Japanese high schoolers to play against an American team. There was obviously this college game that was going on. There were other college games, but he wanted to bring high schoolers together to play football. And he ran into Jim Nagel, who was the head coach of the Ashland high school team at the time, and they kind of put this dream together. The Ashland football team went to Osaka then to play the first Pacific Rim Bowl in 1988,
Wow.
where Ashland won 13-0. Now we're in the 18th game in total. Japan so far has won 9 games. Ashland has won 8. So,
We're looking to even it up this
Yeah,
year.
they got to bring it back to a tie. Ashland hasn't won a game since 2015, so they're kind of hoping to get a win this year.
And there's also been some changes to the team here in Southern Oregon that maybe would help that?
Yeah, so the head coach of the Oregon team this year is Charlie Hall. He's been involved in the Pacific Rim Bowl for quite a while, since at least 1999. He's currently also the head coach for Phoenix High School's football team. So he told me he has a lot of connections with the Japanese side of the Pacific Rim Bowl. He's half Japanese himself, and they had wanted him to be more involved in the game again. He hasn't been the head coach of the team since 2015, since Ashland won previously. So since he's currently the coach at Phoenix High School, they thought, why not just bring Phoenix in?
Easy.
And combine the teams. So, up until now, only Ashland High School has been involved. So this year they're making an all-star team with Ashland and Phoenix High Schools. And he's hoping that'll help them win because it'll bring together these varsity teams that'll work together, and they're going to have more experience to compete against these Japanese team, because the Japanese team has also always been an all-star team, and it's comprised of a bunch of high schools all
In
around.
big cities, too.
Yeah, in big cities in Japan. We don't have as big cities down here in Southern Oregon, so they're kind of hoping this will help them even the playing field a little bit and bring out a win there.
Okay. Well, if people want to go see that, where can they?
Yeah, it's going to be at the Ashland High School tonight at 7 p.m., I believe is the kickoff. I think it's also might be streaming online as well.
For all those Japanese fans, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, thank you, Roman, our occasional sports correspondent.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, well, Justin, you're also having some fun this week. You went on a rafting trip for your feature. How did you justify having so much fun while reporting?
Yeah, well, it was news related. So this trip I took was down the Klamath River, and that river saw the largest dam removal in U.S. history, which I'm sure listeners know we've been covering since the beginning. And the goals of that project were to restore salmon habitat and then also reclaim some tribal land that's been submerged for over 100 years. But taking down the dams also provided new recreational opportunities, like with rafting. So I went down one of the first group descents of a free-flowing Klamath over the spring. And the trip was pretty cool because I got to see, just this up close view of what the area looks like now that the dams are gone.
And, well, tell us, what did you see?
Well, I saw the early results of a really massive restoration project along the river. So, when the dams came down, Copco Lake, which was formed by the dams, that was drained, and that left this really, muddied basin, which was a bit of a bummer and a bit of an eyesore. But the Klamath River Renewal Corporation has overseen this restoration project, which involves billions of seeds. They've been planting native grasses and flowers and other plants, and we also had a wet winter, so it seems like all those seeds are taking root pretty well. And this spring, the valley was looking a lot different. It was really green, and you also had all these bright orange California poppies blooming along the shores. So it was really cool floating this area that, until recently was a lake.
Well, that sounds beautiful. Tell us, how has the river itself changed for rafters?
Yeah, so this was an important part. The rafters I went out with were pretty excited because they had run every river, countless times in this whole region, and they kind of know all these rapids by heart. And then suddenly, when the dams came down, it's like someone dropped a brand new river just in
A new
their backyard.
adventure.
Yeah, to explore. So one example of new opportunities is that when the dams were up, water was diverted from Kikacheki Canyon, also called Ward's Canyon. So it was just dry land, and few people really got to see that canyon. Now the Klamath runs through it, and we got a raft through it. So you get new rapids, which was very fun, but you also get a close-up view of this canyon, which is really cool because it's made up of these columns of volcanic basalt. And I recommend going to the feature and looking at a picture of this because I can't really describe
They're
it.
pretty
But
majestic.
yeah, it almost doesn't look natural. It's really strange those are formed naturally. But although some opportunities also went away, so rafters used to time their runs to catch regular pulses of water released from J.C. Boyle's powerhouse, and that opportunity isn't there. So it's kind of a balance, but the rafters I was with, they were quite excited.
They just have Wild River now.
Yep.
What are the challenges moving forward?
So the goal for the rafters and those in charge of restoration is to balance public access with protecting the area's ecology, as well as respecting, this new tribal land. So the Klamath River Renewal Corporation will be transferring the land to, at some point in the future, the Shasta Indian Nation. And that tribe will actually have a say over what kind of access they're willing to allow outside, these designated river access points, and then the river itself, which is public. And it's a decent amount of land; it's thousands of acres. So
And so this affects where people can pull over their raft and have lunch.
yeah, the shores, all the land that's submerged since the draining of that lake. So in the future, we'll kind of see how they handle that, but that'll be an interesting question for them.
Okay, well, thanks for taking a day out on a raft. Emma J., you covered an update to Head Start's ongoing federal lawsuit this week. What's the lawsuit about, and why was it updated?
Yeah, so there's actually a little bit of history here. Way back in April, Family Forward Oregon joined the American Civil Liberties Union and some of the state Head Start programs in a lawsuit against the Trump administration. Because since Trump took office, Head Start was slammed with staffing cuts and delayed funding and just many blocked programs. Most recently, though, the Department of Health and Human Services announced that Head Start was to be reserved for American citizens, essentially banning undocumented children from participating in the program.
And anyone from a mixed status family. So if their
Yes.
parents were in the country illegally, perhaps they could not
Yes.
go to Head Start.
Yeah. And the ban has been devastating for Head Start because in its 60 years of operation, it's never asked for a child or their parents' immigration status to determine whether or not they can use the program. The lawsuit was just updated to reflect this ban as well as everything else.
And how would banning undocumented children affect Head Start?
Yeah, so I got a chance to speak with Candace Williams and Lisa Ebony Amador from the nonprofit advocacy group Family Forward Oregon about just that. So Williams is the executive director, and she explained to me that banning undocumented children wouldn't just make Head Start inaccessible to them. It could close facilities entirely. The way she put it, a drop in attendance as low as, say, 20% would force many locations to close their doors, even if the remaining 80% were still actively using the facility's services.
And what more specifically about Southern Oregon and the Rogue Valley?
Yeah, Amador's work focuses on Southern Oregon, and she says the loss of Head Start could be especially detrimental down here. Jackson and Josephine counties in particular are both classified as child care deserts, meaning less than 1/3 of children under the age of 5 have access to an affordable child care facility, and that is including Head Start facilities. So if any one of the 27 Head Start locations in those two counties close, that would only make the desert more deserted.
Deserty?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happens now?
So the ban was effective immediately, but we're currently in the midst of its 30-day comment period, so there could be some changes made. The Oregon Head Start Association says it hasn't heard anything from the national office as of yet, so Executive Director Nancy Perrin says they're operating business as usual for now.
So that's something we'll continue to keep an eye on.
Yes.
Jane, you wrote a story this week about school budgets. It's the middle of the summer, if you hadn't noticed. Why are we talking school budgets right now?
It's an excellent question. It's because they're important and things are actually happening right now, and there might be some difficult times coming for school budgets. So school budgets for K through 12 are approved by July 1st for the most part, and so that happened successfully. Yay, school budgets got approved. But then some school districts are in a really tight financial spot right now. They're having some deficits. They're having to make cuts. The Del Norte Unified School District has a $4.6 million deficit for this upcoming school year that starts in just about a month. And it seems like the following school year, the 2026-2027 school year, is going to be even worse and more difficult. And so a lot of districts are really feeling like they're in kind of a shaky financial situation right now and trying to figure out how to address that preemptively, how to plan for that. And this has been a problem for a few years. I've done reporting on this before, school districts facing budget challenges, but it seems to kind of all be coming to a head right now.
Yeah, well, $4.6 million and then more to come. Why are Del Norte and other schools facing such steep financial problems?
There's a lot of different reasons. The most recent, newest one is that the Trump administration is withholding federal education grants while it's reviewing these funding sources for the upcoming school year. So that's money that these schools, in theory, were going to get and need for this upcoming school year starting in just a month. And so they're delaying money that is used to support migrant students and English language learners, professional development as well, and then also student academic achievement. So schools, number one, don't have that money right now. Maybe they'll get it later. It's to be determined. The Trump administration has also proposed cutting those grants entirely for the next school year. So again, the following school year, 26-27, could be even harder for schools. And then there's a lot of other factors as well. Declining enrollment. A lot of schools say they get inadequate state support in Oregon and California. There's the end of the COVID relief money, inflation, and then rise in special education costs is also a big thing. That's it. That's and that and more. So the special education part is really interesting because many students with special education needs get what's called an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. They get special instructions and services. In Oregon, they provide funding. The state provides funding for up to 11% of a district's enrollment who have special education needs who have IEPs. But if a school has a higher percentage, the school has to cover it. Some schools now have 16% kids who have IEPs, so they're basically eating that cost, and that gets expensive. And then one superintendent I spoke with also talked about concerns about rising costs of operations, impacts from Trump's tariffs. So there's just a lot going on for schools right now.
Well, how are districts going to fix this?
They're working on it. They're trying a lot of different ways. Many districts are doing what's called a reduction in force. So that could be layoffs, attrition, not filling vacancies, retirements. Del Norte Unified School District is not filling vacancies, saving over $5 million. They're trying to plan for the next year, which, like I said, seems like it's going to be the big problem. I know that Medford already cut $7.5 million in spending last year. They're going to have to cut more money next year. Ashland School District recently got a $10 million loan for cash flow. So basically, they're doing whatever they can try to do to make it work, and looking forward to the next year when the situation seems to be getting more difficult.
Well, I do not envy superintendents right
me
now.
neither.
That's it for the debrief this week. Thanks for listening. You can reach the newsroom with comments on our coverage and suggestions for things we should cover in the future through our news tip line. That's on our website, ijpr.org. And you can find this program and more at jeffexchange.org. Or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.